Friends, we are very happy to inform you that e-modules are prepared for B.Ed program at Telangana by the School of Education, Osmania University under Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme MHRD New Delhi. It's indeed our pleasure to share with the teacher educators and the prospective teachers and get maximum benefit out of it. It's a first of its attempt by us. We continue to add many more such lessons to share with you all.
Hello, the young generation of India and the world at large. I am Mrs. Shubha Venugopal, a senior teacher educator having more than 35 years of experience in the field of education. So I am teaching essence of Indian culture. EITK, essence of Indian traditional knowledge. So that's what I am, and I continue to give you lessons. Now we shall start with globalization. As you are seeing in the picture, the globe is reflected in the form of the countries with a very beautiful colors splashed on the slide with the beautiful hues of the blue and other greens, oranges, reds and so many other fascinating colors. How this globalization took place, we shall now just peep into that a little bit. Independent India's vision. You all know that India attained her independence in the year 1947. The Free India's vision was to enjoy economic, social and political freedom. Top political leaders believed that planning was possible in a market economy. So the license Raj came. The independent government decided to have a planned economy and control all facets by the state. Under license Raj system, it was decided to offer licenses to a select few industries subject to regulation by the government. What happened by 1980? By 1980s, India was on the verge of default in its external payment obligations. India's foreign reserves dropped rapidly, oil prices went up, imports increased and exports alarmingly dropped. The panic-stricken non-resident Indians withdrew their deposits in the foreign currency accounts of India. Why did the condition occur? This condition occurred due to extraneous forces or factors like Gulf War of 1990-91, bad economic management and wrong political choices of Rajiv Gandhi and VP Singh, Prime Ministers between 1984 and 1989. The mess created had to be cleaned by Mr. Chandrasekhar and Mr. PV Narasimha Rao, who were the subsequent Prime Ministers of India. Why had Chandrasekhar to act? Global credit rating agencies downgraded India from investment grade and made it possible for India to get short-term loans. India was not in a position to give any commitment to reform. Hence, the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund stopped their assistance to India. What action was taken by Chandrasekhar? PM Chandrasekhar had to mortgage Indian gold to avoid default of payments. As a pledge to a large conditional bailout, Indian government had to airlift national gold reserves from International Monetary Fund and the World Bank as an exchange for a loan to cover balance of payment debts. Causes for the crisis: over-evaluation of Indian currency, current account deficit, loss of investor confidence leading to sharp exchange rate depreciation. By 1980s, India was in a serious economic trouble. Foreign exchange reserves dried up to the point that India could hardly finance the 3 weeks of the Indian imports. What was the action of Reserve Bank? The Reserve Bank of India took partial action. It expanded international reserves, slowed the decline of the Indian rupee, and India's foreign reserves depleted. India had to permit a sharp devaluation in 2 steps within 3 days, that is from 1st July and 3rd July, against major currencies of the world. Now we shall just, before introducing the architect of the globalization or the LPG, we just hear a little bit on PV's peace of mind in the walk the talk he had. P.V. Narasimha Rao opened India's gates to global economy. Accidental Prime Minister, that was what he was called, though he was the architect of the Indian economic reforms. P.V., whose full name is Pamaparthi Venkata Narasimha Rao, or you can say Pamulaparthi Venkata Narasimha Rao. He hailed from Telangana and he was fondly addressed as Chanakya. He was the author of the most radical shift in India's economic policy. Nehru was the architect of Indian economy at the time of independence, declared that India would strive to establish a socialistic pattern of society, which continued and continued and continued till 1990, when in 1991 P.V. Narasimha Rao was forced to make the Indian economy a private enterprise, bringing privatization into the arena of economics. What did India do? India approached the international banks for development of the country under its new economic policy. These agencies asked Indian government to open its restrictions on trade accomplished by the private sector. The new economic policy entailed a wide range of reforms between India and other countries. What were the reforms? They were structural reforms. Reforms were made to remove the rigidity in various segments and improve the economy. The stabilization measures that LPG India took to stabilization measures to correct the weaknesses in balance of payments and to control the inflation. Long-term structural reforms. The long-term structural reforms were introduced in India. They were of this order: liberalization, privatization and globalization. What was the basic aim of liberalization? To end the restrictions that hindered the development and growth of the nation. Under liberalization, the private sector companies are allowed to work without or with fewer restrictions. Liberalization occurs when something which used to be banned is no longer banned, or when government regulations are relaxed. Private sector companies work without or with fewer restrictions. Government allows private players to expand for the growth of the country. Just as you are seeing, the Rajiv Gandhi International Airport in Hyderabad is courtesy GR, and it's a private company which has made something possible for Hyderabad to witness such a beautiful airport. Privatization, increment of the dominating role of private sector companies. It reduced the role of public sector companies, and the government companies can be converted into private companies in two ways: one, by disinvestment, and second, by withdrawal of government ownership and management of public sector companies. Globalization, it's the name of this particular lesson. It means to integrate the economy of one country with the global economy. The main focus shall be and is on foreign trade, private and institutional foreign investment. Now this figure shows the three pillars: LPG, which is fondly called in brief liberalization, privatization and globalization. It is the abbreviation of LPG is the abbreviation of liberalization, privatization and globalization. Now we want to move or wanted to move from a linear to a circular economy. What is this? Business opportunities can offer new ways to mitigate risks, allow business to grow and diversify. In a circular economy, products and materials keep circulating in a high value state of use through supply chain for as long as possible. The circular economy already discussed the generation, the separation, the collection, the export and the global circular economy, which is shown for the design and production of that. So resources flow in Victoria's circular economy, where the reuse is possible through recovery and sorting out. Now why should we think global? The first writer to use the term globalization was the American economist Theodore Levitt in the year 1983. He argued that all around the world, people's tastes seem to be converging, and that firms are now or were now beginning to offer standardized products in all countries. Globalization as a term is very complex. According to Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate, Nobel Prize winning economist of India, globalization has enriched the world scientifically and culturally and benefited many people economically as well. The United Nations has even predicted that the forces of globalization may have the power to eradicate poverty in the 21st century. Now, it is globalization which saw to it that we are passing through the difficult time of COVID because of this global warming. I didn't say in the context of temperature, but I am talking in the context of global warmth, which is being extended from one country towards the other country. What is globalization? It's a primarily an economic process of interaction and integration that's associated with social and cultural aspects. Growing interdependence of world economies, globalization means that the world is becoming interconnected by trade and cultural exchange. Firstly, the fact that globalization is not an end result, but it's a continuing process that keeps growing and gathering pace. Secondly, there is the idea that globalization leads to world economies becoming more reliant upon one another. Best outcome of globalization is outsourcing is work done at a lower rate and from the superior source available anywhere in the world. Now, we have seen from the 90s, I think, this software has boomed. Why? Booming of the software was because of outsourcing. We are outsourcing from a superior source. So, services like legal advice, marketing, technical support, etc. have largely increased due to globalization, and many Indians have found their occupation or their profession through this globalization. Due to growth of information technology, outsourcing of contractual work from one country to another has grown tremendously. The mode of communication has widened reach. All economic activities have expanded globally. Main reasons that have caused globalization: improved transport made global travel easier. For example, there has been a rapid growth in air travel, enabling greater movement of people and goods across the globe. Containerization. From 1970, there was a rapid adoption of the steel transport container. This reduced the cost of intermodal transport, making trade cheaper and more efficient. Improved technology makes it easier to communicate and share information around the world. Growth of multinational companies with a global presence in many different economies. Growth of global trading blocs which have reduced national barriers. Example, the European Union, NAFTA, ASEAN. Reduced tariff barriers encouraged global trade. Often this is encouraged through the support of the WTO. Essential feature of new trade policy: the firms exploiting gain from economies to scale to gain increased specialization. Economic growth is global in nature under globalization. The global trade cycle. What is this? This means countries are increasingly interconnected. Example, recession in one country affects global trade and invariably causes an economic downturn in major trading partners. Luckily, because of our stringent banking measures, we did not undergo this hard recession in our country when the rest of the world was experiencing recession in a very significant fashion. The characteristics of globalization: first one is liberalization, that is allowing free trade. Free trade, globalization of economic activities, as I have already told you, because of the increased economic increased economic activities because of the transport and the steel containerism, connectivity between and among countries, borderless globe, a composite process of exchanging people and economic goods and services, a multidimensional process, and it is a top down process, a global state versus a civil society. WTO, what is this? World Trade Organization. It is an international organization that established rules for international trade. It was established on January 1st, 1995. WTO is a result of Uruguay round of GATT organization created by the Marrakesh Agreement. WTO is completely replacement of GATT predecessor and has very different characters. Objectives of this: ensuring full employment. Always we are talking about unemployment and poverty. If we are going to have full employment, then poverty will vanish and we will have people working for the betterment of the nations. Developing the full use of the resource of the world. We have natural resources which have to be exploited, which have to be put into good use, and raising the standards of living. Actually, our per capita income is so low that we not having, or we are not able to have a good standard of living. Apart from the quality of living, we also need a quantity of living. So, raising the standard of living of people is a very important objective of WTO or the GATT. Countries was involved, from all the countries who were involved in GATT, expanding the production and exchange of goods. Now, during the COVID, the great power like America asked Modi, the Prime Minister of India, to supply some medicines. Imagine a country like America asking us for medicines. It is because of this, expanding the production and exchange of goods. A large and steadily growing volume of real income and effective demand. To provide industries and business enterprises from different countries a secure, stable and predictable environment in which they can trade with one another under conditions of fair and equitable competition. To promote through increased trade, greater investment, production and employment. The principle of GATT 1, trade without any discrimination. This principle involves the provision of most favored nation. The abbreviation is MFN, means each contracting parties give any other contracting parties the same benefits as those given to another parties. So, each country is a most favored nation, each member country is the most favored nation, and they have to give the same benefits to other member countries without having any discrimination. Freer trade, lowering trade barrier is one of the most obvious means of encouraging trade. That is, allowing free trade to happen without barriers. Barriers include custom duties and measures such as import bans. Now, once Ferrari was given as a gift to Sachin Tendulkar, and the customs of India objected to that, and they said that it should be not brought into that, but then later on it was released. So, like that a number of luminaries who bring lot of imported stuff have to undergo this large custom duties, and it is a very difficult time for them, because the custom duties are sometimes more costlier or more than the actual price of the product. So, the globalization advocated barriers including custom duties and measures such as import bans have to be removed. Predictability investment is encouraged. Predictability investment means the ability to predict should be encouraged, and jobs are created. Consumers fully enjoy the benefits of competition, but for competition quality goods cannot be produced. Therefore, there has to be a quality where consumers fully enjoy the benefits of competitors. Role of the WTO in globalization. WTO plays an important role in the principle of trade, withdrawal, discrimination in the free market trade. The most favored nation treating other people equally under the WTO. The national treatment treating the foreigners and local equally. Promotion of fair competition. WTO contributes to development. Protection only through tariff. Protection should be given to domestic industries only through the customs tariffs and not through other commercial measures. Contracting countries provide a stable, predictable basis for trade. Now, you can see the Uruguay in the picture. We now go to the history and legal nature of the GATT. The General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade (GATT) is the most important legal source of world trade law. It was negotiated during the United Nations Conference on Trade and Employment after efforts to create the International Trade Organization remained without success. The original GATT text from 1947, subject to modifications from 1994, is still in effect even if it has become part of the World Trade Organization, which has been in force since its establishment in 1995. Until today, 164 nations have entered the WTO and must therefore also comply with the provisions of the GATT. As for the Netherlands, it signed the GATT on January 1st, 1948 and became part of the WTO with its establishment in 1995. Also, the Czech Republic signed the GATT in 1993 and entered the WTO in 1995. Apart from the GATT, crucial legal basis on which the WTO is acting are the General Agreement on Trade in Services (GATS) and the General Agreement on Trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. The GATS. What is the difference between GATT and GATS? The creation of GATS was one of the landmark achievements of the Uruguay round, whose results entered into force in January 1995. The GATS was inspired by essentially the same objectives as its counterpart in merchandise trade, the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, that is called GATT. So, GATS is on services and GATT is on Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, creating a credible and reliable system of international trade rules, ensuring fair and equitable treatment of all participants, principle of non-discrimination, stimulating economic activity through guaranteed policy bindings and promoting trade, and developing through progress of internationalization, or you can say liberalization. While services currently account for over 2/3 of global production and employment, they represent no more than 25% of total trade when measured on a balance of payment basis. This seemingly modest share should not be underestimated, however. Indeed, balance of payments, you know what is balance of payments? We are having three types of balance of payments. When the imports are more than the exports, when the exports are more than the exports, and when the imports and exports are equal. So, adverse balance of payment, adverse balance of payments, favorable balance of payments, and balance of payments. Statistics do not capture one of the modes of service supply defined in the GATS, which is the supply through commercial presence in another country, through mode 3. Furthermore, even though services are increasingly traded in their own right, they also serve as crucial inputs into the production of goods, and consequently when assessed in value added terms, services account for 50% of world trade. So, we shall not underestimate the services, the consultations. A basic principle of GATT is that member countries should consult one another on trade matters and problems. Binding of tariffs cannot be increased unilaterally. Fair settlement of cases. Member countries can call on GATT rights under GATT are being withheld by other members. So, the right should not be withheld by other members and they should be given fair settlement. What is the main purpose of GATS? All WTO members, some 140 economies at present, are at the same time, now it may have increased, we shall go into the present membership. Members of the GATS and to varying degrees have assumed commitment in individual service sectors. The creation of the GATS was one of the landmark achievements of the Uruguay round, whose results entered into force in January 1995. Creating a credible and reliable system of international trade rules, ensuring fair and equitable treatment of all participants, principle of non-discrimination, stimulating economic activity through guaranteed policy bindings, promoting trade and development through progressive liberalization. What services are covered? The GATT applies in principle to all service sectors with two exceptions. Article 1(3) of the GATT excludes services supplied in the exercise of governmental authority. These are services that are supplied neither on a commercial basis nor in a competition with other suppliers. Cases in point are social security schemes and any other public service such as health or education that is provided at non-market conditions. What are the basic obligations under the GATS? General obligations. MFN treatment. Under Article 2 of the GATS, members are held to extend immediately and unconditionally service suppliers of all other members to promote through increased trade, greater investment, production and employment. Principle of GATT 1, trade without discrimination. This principle involves the provision of most favored nation, means give same benefits to each other. Transparency. GATS members are required inter alia to publish all measures. National treatment. A commitment to national treatment implies that the member concerned does not operate discriminatory measures benefiting domestic service or service suppliers. What information is contained in services schedules? Most schedules consist of both oral and horizontal sectors. Oral and sector. Most schedules contains of both sectoral and horizontal. The horizontal section contains entries that apply across all sectors subsequently listed in the schedule. The sector specific sections contain entries that apply only to the particular service. Are there special provisions for developing countries? Yes. Developing country interests have inspired both the general structure of the agreement as well as individual articles. What is the so-called built-in agenda of the GATS? The program reflects both the fact that not all the services related negotiations could be concluded within the time frame of the Uruguay round and that members have already committed themselves. Why was a new service round necessary? In services, the Uruguay round was only a first step in a longer term basis process of multilateral rulemaking and trade liberalization. What has been achieved to date in the new services round? Under Article 20, members are self-committed to launch successive rounds of services negotiations with a view to achieving a progressively higher level of liberalization. Policy issues. Globalization stems from technological developments rather than policy choices. Good use of their abundant unskilled labor and being able to access world level technologies. First, approximation policy. How to prosper in a global economy as give one's citizens a relevant set of skills through education and then let them get on with the job of producing whatever is useful to the world economy. Second, approximation. Developing countries are well advised to limit their integration in the world economy and that concerns the liberalization of short-term capital flow. What are the benefits of globalization? The most important advantage of outsourcing is that big multinational corporate or even small enterprises can avail good services at a cheaper rate as compared to their country's standards. The skill set in India is considered most dynamic and effective across the world. Indian professionals are best at their work, that's why the world is borrowing them. The low wage rate and specialized personnel with high skills have made India the most favorable destination for global outsourcing in the later stage of reformation. Conclusion. Since the end of World War II and particularly in the past 10 to 15 years, we have seen the process of globalization drive forward at an unprecedented rate. A large part of this is down to legal, political and technological developments which have facilitated trade across national boundaries both in products and in factor inputs. However, when evaluating the effectiveness of these factors in promoting global interdependence, it is important to bear in mind that many of them have their drawbacks and limitations. Nonetheless, globalization continues to gather pace in the 21st century, and with technology becoming cheaper and more advanced, we can only expect the process of globalization to propel further forward in the years to come. Whatever it is, in spite of the propelling forces and technological insurgence, where we are having cars which are having driverless cars, automatic cars, robots are going to take place, still man is man is superior to technology. So, technology can never ever dominate man. Man is the brain and has to continue. Long live the man.